be so intentional about switching off. I hate to say it, but you really are a number within a firm. You are.
It's true.
Yes, you might have great connections with the people that you work with and whatever, but if you drop dead today, and this is what I had to learn when I was leaving consulting, if you drop dead today, next week, Monday, the post will be open for someone else.
Oof.
And I
painful,
had to
but
come
it's
to
true.
that reality.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, Rory, you are fighting for your life. I had COVID a few weeks ago and I was on and off of work for the longest time. And I had to say, listen, Rory, when you are in bed, your notifications are off.
Yeah.
And what happened? Absolutely nothing. When I came back, I was able to hit the ground running again. That's the one thing that I think I struggled with, sometimes still do, but some people need to be a bit more intentional about that, especially within the foundation phase of your career. Because if you can build that foundation now, knowing when you need a break, knowing when you're too sick to function, then you're able to say, this is my hard no.
Yes.
And when I come back, I'll be able to deliver bigger and better. Hi, beautiful people. My name is Rorisang Mabogoane.
3.
We speak all things adulting, faith, career development, personal development, lifestyle, the works.
2.
Anything and everything that is relevant for us to navigate our young adult lives.
1. Let's go.
The foundation that my parents built is the reason why I am who I am today. And I'm genuinely so grateful for it in retrospect because, yeah, guys, it was rough then. It was rough and you felt like you were being taken away from being a child. But in actual fact, your parents were grooming you to be a strong, level-headed adult, which is what I would like to believe I am. And one thing about me, I will try to be different. Just like BCom Finance, people ask me, why didn't I study BCom Accounting? And it's like, I personally didn't want to be an accountant just like everyone else. I come up from a commerce family. You know, my mom studied commerce, my older cousin studied, BCom Accounting and all of that. And I was just like, I want to be within commerce, but I don't want to be an accountant like they are, So I always did something along the lines, but different.
Now there's a young manager who's overseeing a team of people who are probably way older. And then you start to think about ageism. Yes. Which I really want us to unpack.
It's funny that you're bringing it up now because when I started at banking, I intentionally didn't tell people how old I am. It's been a roller coaster, not just physically, but mentally as well. And when you're just like, God, I've been praying for this breakthrough, I've been praying for this healing, and you're just not coming through. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and say, listen, sometimes the experience that you're going through is not for you, but it's for other people as well. And that story that you'll share when you've come out victorious will be the reason why some people come to Christ.
And at some point, you realize the past doesn't have to define you. The detours, the setbacks, the closed doors, they are part of the story, your story. And here, we're all about second chances, fresh starts, and those moments that change everything. Welcome to the Breakthrough Sessions podcast, where we talk about the messy, the beautiful, and the in-between. Because every ending is just the beginning of something new. I'm Refilwe, and this is The Rebirth. Let's get into it.
Rorisang?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here.
It's a long time coming. So listen, I'm excited as well.
No, we finally got it done.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm excited.
No, we're here. We're here.
Yeah. So I just want to ask, what quality from your childhood brings me to the person who's sitting in front of me today?
Discipline. Discipline. And I say that because growing up, I grew up in a very strict household, right?
Okay.
And at the time, I hated it.
Okay.
Listen, there were such strict rules, no TV at this time, come home at this time, don't wear this, wear that, this TV show you don't watch, you watch that. And at the time, I hated it. But when I look back now, the foundation that my parents built is the reason why I am who I am today. And I'm genuinely so grateful for it in retrospect because, yeah, guys, it was rough then. It was rough, and you felt like
Yeah.
you were being taken away from being a child.
Mm.
But in actual fact, your parents were grooming you
Mm-hmm.
to be a strong, level-headed adult,
Yeah.
which is what I would like to believe I am now.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, discipline. I didn't expect that, because discipline as a kid,
Yeah,
I think it's hard.
yeah.
But having to have that be instilled by your parents also, it's like they knew what was happening with your future.
Yeah, I think, listen, my parents they're incredible people. And I think at the time they didn't, Black parents don't have explanations as to why they do what they do.
Yes.
And I didn't get it. Like I said, there was a lot of frustration. When your friends are going for sleepovers, you're not allowed to. When this is happening, they're going to the mall, you're not allowed to. You have to practice your maths or whatever. And then you are the one person out of your friend group from childhood where you finished school in record time, you got into work, you are stable financially, you bought an apartment, all of that. And you look back and it's like, okay, Lord, I understand what my parents were doing.
Yes. There's something so interesting with growing up and actually realizing the decisions that our parents made when we were younger, because obviously we were, I don't know, maybe rebelling is a strong word, but we just second guessed everything that our parents would do because it didn't make sense. And then at some point you reach an age where now things shift. And for me, it also happened. I mean, I don't have any kids or anything like that. I would have thought it would have happened when I had kids and I was a mother, and now I'm like, oh, now I know why my mom was parenting me the way I'm now parenting my child. But like when you reach a certain age,
you get it.
Just a switch just comes on, and then you realize why your parents were doing what they were doing. 100%. Like I lived my best life going for sleepovers when I was a child, but like I don't think I'll be able to have my child do that. Like, what do you mean?
This world?
Why is my child sleeping at somebody else's house?
Please, never.
I don't understand. I feel like I'm gonna be that parent who's gonna lock their children up and like you're not going anywhere, you're not doing anything. Like I want to know where you are 24/7, which is red flaggy.
Yeah. No, so I was going to add within reason. So you lock them up and you protect them as best as you can within reason, not to the point where you're suffocating the child, but you're also just trying to protect the child as best as you can.
Yeah, because the world that we live in, it's a scary place.
It's scary.
It's really a scary place.
The stories we hear are insane.
And it's not even that they're far away. Like
they're literally in our backyard.
They're in our backyard.
Yeah.
You know someone who knows someone who knows someone who's been through a traumatic experience. Or if it hasn't happened to you, if it hasn't happened to somebody in your family member. And it's so sad.
Yeah. It's a painful one. And I think a lot of the times we just say, let's pray about it. Let's, do the protests, the peaceful protests and stuff. But I think it's more than that. It's reaching into the community that you're living with, your guy friends, your fathers, your uncles, all of that. Having those conversations are extremely important because they are where the world is going. And if you don't have those conversations, then they think it's okay. And it's not. It's really not.
Yeah, but yeah, anyways, we're veering off there. Anyways, so then you went to study.
Yes.
You studied BCom Finance and then you majored in investment. Yes.
Investment management, yes, as my honors degree.
Yes. Yeah. So what informed that decision for you to go from finance to investment management?
Okay, so just a bit of background. So investment management is one of the modules that you do within finance, right? So it was the only module that seemed to make sense because it seemed like everyone was flocking to financial planning, financial management, all of that. And one thing about me, I will try to be different. Just like BCom Finance, people ask me, why didn't I study BCom Accounting? And it's like, I personally didn't want to be an accountant just like everyone else. I come up from a commerce family. My mom studied commerce. My older cousin studied, BCom Accounting, all of that. And I was just like, I want to be within commerce, but I don't want to be an accountant like they are, So I always did something along the lines but different. So investment management was that same thing where I wanted to do something along the lines of a BCom finance graduate, but different. Not that I've used my degree at all. I have not used my degree.
Right.
But yeah, I think that it was just me wanting to go against the grain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you want to go against the grain?
Because being the same as everybody else is boring.
Oh, I love that.
Being the same as everyone else is boring. And I think a lot of people go with the flow because it's safe. And you can't really step into faith and trust God when you're safe. There's no need for faith when you're safe.
Yeah.
So jump into the deep end and allow God to be that floaty that you have within the pool.
Yes.
And he will guide where you go.
And do you think he's been guiding where you've been going?
I think so. I don't think any step that I've taken has been, my own doing. My career, my adulting journey has been, it's just been God's hand on it. I don't think I'd be where I am. I don't think I'd be as sane as I am. I don't think I'd be as content as I am had it not been for God holding my hand through all of that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you're a very God-centered person.
Yes.
And God is like the priority.
Yeah.
You seem to take him wherever you go.
I do. If anything, he takes me wherever he wants me to go.
Oh,
yes.
fair. Actually.
Yeah.
Does that also stem from your childhood?
It does. I grew up in a very faith-oriented family. My dad was a pastor. My grandparents were pastors, all of that. And I grew up in the church. But obviously that then changes when you get older because your faith is your choice, right? But I didn't stray away from that even when I got old. And that's why I'm a firm believer of the verse that says, train up a child in the ways of the Lord. And when they're older, they won't depart from it.
Amen.
Because I see that with myself, that I was trained up like that. And when I had the freedom, I still chose to stay in that path.
That's beautiful. I actually have a question. A bit of a violent question coming off of what you just said now. Cool. Have you ever faced any difficulties that kind of swayed you away from God or made you question his involvement in your life?
Yes, actually. There were two. One I won't share about, but the second one, when I was 21, I got diagnosed with scoliosis.
Oh, no.
And I felt like my whole life was crushing in front of me because I was like, Lord, I have stayed true to your word. I've been obedient. I've been a good child. I've honored my parents. Why am I now someone who has this physical defect that the doctors are saying, listen, you have to live with this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You won't be able to carry a child to full term. You're going to struggle walking long distances. You can't carry heavy things, all of that stuff. And you're like, Lord, I'm 21. I feel like that is my entire life. You're telling me I can't run the comrades. Not that I'm a runner, but like now more than ever, because the doctors are telling me that I can't do it.
Yeah.
I want to do those things. So I was really angry at God for a long time. And it's funny that I was having this conversation with a friend of mine a few weeks ago. And he said to me, Rory, you've come a long way when it comes to your mental state with scoliosis. And I still am believing for the miracle. It hasn't happened yet, but I believe that one day I'm going to wake up and God would have healed my back. But right now, I think I'm just taking it a day at a time. And some days I really am angry at God when I'm having an episode and I can't even get out of bed. And I'm just like, but Lord, I was serving at church yesterday. What more do you want from me, you know? But yeah, it's been a roller coaster, not just physically, but mentally as well. And when you're just like, God, I've been praying for this breakthrough, I've been praying for this healing, and you're just not coming through. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and say, listen, sometimes the experience that you're going through is not for you, but it's for other people as well. And that story that you'll share when you've come out victorious will be the reason why some people come to Christ.
Amen. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. I'm sorry about that also.
No, it's okay.
Thank you so much for sharing.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's hard also because I actually was asking that question obviously for everyone else, but also more so for me, right? Because I am in a bit of a shaky season right now, being unemployed. And I didn't expect I'd be unemployed for as long as I've been unemployed. So now you start to question a lot, right?
Like, Lord, where are you?
Yes. That's the number one question in my head, to be honest. And I actually haven't shared this part of my journey yet, like publicly. But like I really do have moments where very long moments. I don't want to call them days, but very long moments where I doubt and I question if God is like around because I see him in other people and I see his work in other people, but I don't see it in myself. And I think this is the longest bout I've gone where I'm just like, God, where are you? And like you said at the end, maybe I am where I am now because it might not be more so for me, but it's about what I represent and what I represent for other people. Maybe this could help. My miracle story, when it comes, could help bring other people into faith. You know, so it's hard being in it. And, you know, you start to question your identity, question your worth. And then you start to question, is your worth linked to a job? Like, you go down a rabbit hole. So it's really hard. But I always just keep telling myself that even though I might not feel him right now, he is he's in the neighborhood.
He's there. He's omnipresent. He's here.
Omnipresent.
Yeah.
And that in the neighborhood notion, like, grew smaller and smaller and smaller. Let me say grew closer and closer and closer. So he started off with he's in the neighborhood. And then when I saw him like giving my friends, my family what they wanted, and I was like, okay, he's in the house.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And then like I start to hear his voice a bit louder and louder. And then I'm like, okay, he's in the room.
Yeah.
And I think that's as far as I've gotten now. Like he's still a whisper. He's like at the back of the room, but like at least he's in the room, and that's progress.
But is he whispering, or is the world too loud for us?
Other thing.
Because sometimes he's very audible.
Yeah.
But it's just that we are surrounded by so much noise that it sounds like he's whispering.
Then how do we block out the noise? Because, and I think there's a control element linked to it as well. That maybe I could be holding on to so much because I want things to move in a certain direction. So then it's like, okay, how do we then block out the noise and completely relinquish control? Because it's easy to be like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah.
And then
but you take it and then you take,
exactly. The next day you take it back and you're like, oh gosh.
I thought I was.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's my major struggle now. I've had moments in the past where like I've been driven to a point where I have no choice but to just let go.
Yeah.
And then that's when God has come in and done miracles in my life. But I'm struggling so much with this phase. Maybe it's because it's been so long also. And there's so much anxiety linked to it. And then outside forces linked to it. And then financial implications and family who get worried, friends who get worried. And everything is valid. Every single point is valid. But at the same time, in all of that, I have to still hold on to my faith. Yeah. And there's that other verse, I think, that says that God is in the eye of the storm, I think. Yeah, he's not necessarily in the chaos of the storm.
He isn't,
but in the eye, in the most quiet point, he's there. Is where he is. So,
and you have to seek him to get to that quiet point, right? To seek him daily. And you were speaking earlier about, you spend time in the word and whatever during the day. That is extremely important because we can't hear him if we're not reading his word. We can't hear him if we're not talking to him. We can't hear him if we're not worshiping him because it's not like he's not speaking. It's just we are filling our spirit with the wrong things. We're filling our spirit with the social media and that outside noise. With yes, your mom has been complaining. When are you getting a job? What are you doing? What's your plan? But what is God saying? Because we can go to God with our frustrations and say, you see, Lord, now everybody around me is worried. Everybody's up in arms. But okay, Lord, what do you want for me? And please show me the purpose of this season so that I can stay true to it until you say, okay, my child, this trial is done. Let's go.
Yeah. That is so real. That is really, really so real. And thank you for that also. Thank you for that reminder. I think it's nice to feel affirmed also. And to also know that, okay, there's certain things that I still need to do, clearly, before, I don't know, I don't want it to come across transactional because I was going to say before God.
It's not transactional.
No. But there's still a lot of healing that I might need to do, or a lot more work that I need to do before God shows himself, or even that, I don't like saying it like that as well, but like before God, before whatever needs to happen,
before the breakthrough comes.
Let me just say that. Before the breakthrough comes. Before the breakthrough comes.
Love it.
And for now, I just need to sit in the quiet. And I need to be patient. And I need to sit in the mud and just take whatever comes. And if anything, I'm built for it. I know it's been a bit of a hard time, but like I just keep telling myself, take it one day at a time.
That's the only way.
I've got my tools. I think if anything, throughout this whole time, I've learned to build my tools. So I know when I need to like lean into that, and that's what I try to do more of. And I hope for the best.
God will come through, and bigger than we even could imagine. He will come through.
Ooh, I can't wait. But anyways, so after you studied, you then went into a Big Four firm. And that's where you were for 3 years.
I would say for 3 years,
3 years, okay. And then now you've transitioned now into a banking platform.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And when you were working in the Big Four, you were working as a junior the entire time?
So I started as an associate one. People who know the consulting lingo will understand. So associate one progressed to associate 2.
Okay.
And then I was promoted to senior associate 1. And after a few months of that, that's when I transitioned into banking.
Okay. All right. Do you mind maybe just breaking down a little bit of the work that you were doing in your time at the Big Four versus what you're doing at the bank now?
Okay. So I was a strategy consultant. So essentially what we do is work on projects where we are building strategies for our clients, right? Whether that, as a junior, you find yourself doing a lot of the research, a lot of the modeling, a lot of the groundwork that will help the seniors build the strategy. So you're able to understand the in-depth knowledge about a certain industry, about how business is built, all of that stuff, in order for you to inform your seniority that, okay, go and recommend A, B, and C to the client. So you find yourself, like I said, doing research, doing a whole lot of PowerPoint. Guys, you will eat, sleep, breathe PowerPoint in consulting. I cannot, oh my goodness. That's one thing I do not miss about banking.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's essentially what you do as a junior.
Yes.
And when it comes to maybe doing a lot of the stakeholder management, you will maybe draft the stuff and then you have to then forward that to your boss to send out. You don't necessarily have that one-on-one communication with the client, depending on how tight-knit the project team is or not. But that's essentially the gist of it. And because you are within a junior role, you have exposure to a lot of other industries. So I worked mainly within the financial services and payments transformation industry, but there was energy, utilities and resources. There was TMTs, which are, you know, the telecoms. There was Fit for Growth, which works with a lot of the financial services industry as well, where we're trying to not just look at strategy from an ops perspective, but also from a financial point of view as well. What does your income statement look like? What are you spending too much on? What do you need to cut down on? What should you invest more in? Things like that, so that we can make your business fit to grow. That's where the Fit for Growth comes from.
Got you.
So that's essentially what being a junior in consulting looks like. Senior consulting, I wasn't in that too long for me to say that I learned a lot. However, within the team dynamics that we found ourselves in, I was still functioning at a junior level because of the hierarchy, the bureaucracy. It was a bit of a sticky environment where you still got the dirty work even after the promotion, you know. And I think that's where the frustration started for me, and that's when I decided to transition into banking. Funny enough, when I first started looking for another job, I was still looking heavily within the consulting space. And every door that I knocked on closed. And I was like, Lord, what? Like, Lord, you know? And that point of frustration that you were talking about earlier, that's where I was. Because I looked for a job for about 6-7 months. Every door I knocked on closed in my face. I'd get to the last round of the interview phase, and they would say, we regret to inform you. You know, that was from July 2023, I think, until December 2023. And if you know, the consulting firms close for the December period. So we were set to close, I think, on the 13th or the 14th of December that year. And on the 12th, I got an offer. And obviously they need to serve your term and whatever. And I was like, Lord, I don't care. I'm submitting this to finish on the 12th of January. To start my new job on the 15th of January. Luckily, it was still in a payments-oriented space, considering my background in consulting. So the transition wasn't too hard from a content point of view and a vocabulary point of view. But banking is a completely different ballgame. There aren't those frameworks, that structure there. Everybody just does, you know, what they think is best for a specific project, what they think is best. Yes, there are like proper governance programs, like processes and stuff. But you are given the leeway. So it's a freedom and it's a curse at the same time. So you can do whatever you want, how you want it done, as long as it's right and ethically correct within the business construct.
Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes I feel like the freedom is a bit too much, because then your mind just goes on a frenzy. Okay, they said I can paint it blue, but if I mix blue and red, it's
still blue.
It's still blue.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a bit purple, but you know what I mean. You know? And that freedom sometimes makes the iteration process a bit longer than what it should be.
Okay.
So that's the one thing that I miss about consulting, where there are proper structures in place, frameworks in place on how to like set up maybe a PowerPoint presentation. Whereas in banking, it's just like, do what you do as long as the information is there. And then it gets to exec level and it's like, no, but this should be there instead of that. And it's like, wow, if we had a framework,
structure,
we wouldn't be having this conversation, you know. So I still bring a lot of those learnings from consulting into banking, and funny enough, I've seen my team adopt a lot of the stuff that I've brought in as well, which is great, because now even they are able to push out work a bit faster. The quality of the presentations are so much cleaner, because bankers don't know how to use PowerPoint.
Oh, scary.
They don't know how to use PowerPoint. Shock to my system. Shock to my system. But like I say, the freedom was a blessing, and I don't want to use the word curse, but a curse. And I'm grateful to consulting for the foundation it built, so that I'm able to think in the structured way that I'm able to, even in a bank space where it's like, I feel like wearing blue today instead of black, and it's okay.
It's whatever,
you know. So
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. Well, that sounds really interesting. And I think seeing what you've also experienced from the true world, and then also what you've gotten from a consulting environment, and then what you've managed to implement in a banking space. That's really good. And I think while you were talking, I was thinking about adaptability, how you had to adapt and how quickly you adapted, especially when it comes to the work that you had to do. But then there was also an adapting that needed to happen in terms of moving from a junior role now moving to a senior role, which looks like leadership. Now you're responsible for your own team. I think at the time when you started, you said you were 25?
I was, 24, 25. How old am I now? Yeah, so I was 24.
24.
Yeah, I was 24.
So you were quite young also. I mean, it starts to question, okay, now there's a young, should we call it manager, leader? Now there's a young manager who's overseeing a team of people who are probably way older. So we start to question things like, will there be an element of respect? Will there be an element of trust? Will there be an element of actually doing what you tell them to do? And then you start to think about ageism, which I really want us to unpack.
It's funny that you're bringing it up now, because when I started at banking, I intentionally didn't tell people how old I am. And that's because I knew that they were going to look down on me. And I think they only started knowing my age now after stalking me on LinkedIn, by the way. They only knew my age like recently. And even then, because I had made sure I make a name for myself before they know my age, they're able to just say, oh, okay, she's 26, cool, whatever. Rory can do A, B, and C, you know? So I'm grateful that I had that wisdom to keep my age not a secret, but on the down low, for as long as I could, because I was able to make a name for myself outside of how old I actually am.
And I mean, you are a mature person. I mean, in the few minutes that we've been talking, I can already tell that you have a mature presence. So it's not far-fetched for people to think that you're older than you actually are.
Of course,
Unfortunately, you are particularly. We have spoken about that. So your face might give away that you are a bit younger. But at least it doesn't seem like there was any kind of questioning of how old are you or whatever. It was just like, okay, Rory is now the boss.
And that's it.
This is what she needs us to do. And then I guess you worked on building the reputation and the trust in your team.
That's what I did. Very intentional about that as well.
Yes. And I think, it does go back to intentionality as well, and ensuring that the intention behind what you're doing shines through.
Agreed.
Because you knew very well that you had to build that trust with them. And I think it also brings into question being a leader as you are at your age. You know, I think you coined it in one of your videos, a Gen Z leader.
Yes.
And you said some really inspirational things about the leader I wish I had more exposure to.
Agreed.
You know, in the spheres of my life. And I want us to unpack, what does a Gen Z leader look like in a banking environment?
A Gen Z leader is human. Let's start there. A Gen Z leader is transparent.
Yeah.
A Gen Z leader leads with empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very aware of the fact that when you're running a team, when you're running a business, there are targets to hit. There are, different goals, KPIs, all of that, the forecast that you guys had budgeted for at the beginning of the year, all of that needs to be hit. But who's going to help you hit and reach those goals? It's people.
Yes.
And if your people are struggling, if your people can't come to you, if you don't have an open door policy, that's when resentment starts building. And that's when they do things for the sake of doing it and not because there's passion linked to it. So how you lead will determine how successful your team is.
Yeah.
If you are leading them as computers, as machines, you're only going to get the bare minimum out of them. You know, a computer, when you press enter, it's just going to skip you to the next line. But if you press enter and you've plugged it into a charger, it's going to live for another 8 hours. You know what I mean? So you need to be intentional about how you pour into your team because they are who are going to get you to the benchmarks that you've set for this team. And I think a lot of the millennials, boomers, all of them, incredible leaders, their foundations are pure. Listen, I can never fault them for that. But I think when it comes to their people skills, a lot of it is lacking sometimes. I'm grateful to have been raised by my dad, who is very big on people, and he was big in HR during his time within employment. And I saw how he was a leader, and that's how I show up as a leader at work as well, where it's people focused. Oh, you are dealing with something at home? Take a few days off. We'll talk about what deadlines you need to reach, which ones we can renegotiate, and which ones I need to pull the rest of the team in to support you with while you're going through this difficult time. That's the type of leader I am. You're not going to start a week on a Monday without saying, or without being free to come and say, Rory, this happened over the weekend. I'm not okay, and that will affect how I show up this week. Is that okay? I'd rather have that than somebody who is wiping their tears in between meetings and not being able to say, Rory, I'm struggling. It's a big thing.
No, it really is. And what you're coming back to is basically well-being. I'm so big on well-being. I am a big advocate for well-being. I just believe that, like, you can't show up as your best self if your wellness is struggling, if your mental health is struggling. And for me, it just doesn't make sense how you can be productive and how you can perform at your best if you're fighting for your life mentally. So it's so important to make sure that people show up as their best selves. How do they show up as their best selves? Mental health needs to be sound. And you have to create that kind of environment where people do feel like they can trust you. They can come to you and tell you what they're struggling with. And yes, we're not saying it should be, you are now word vomiting your whole life story. But there has to be somewhat of a trust, somewhat of safety, like you said, where they feel like they can come and talk to you about whatever they're going through. And you as their leader can support them or can advise on how to support them so that they can get back to the best version of themselves. So
Agreed.
I commend you for that. That's really important. I think we don't have enough of that kind of representation, especially in our young leaders, because they're still coming up or they're boxed in. They don't feel like they've got the platform to be able to exhibit those qualities. So for you, being in that kind of space, I think it's a really big thing.
It is.
So thank you for doing that. That genuinely, like, it goes a long way. And I'm sure your employees, I don't know if they tell you this, but I'm sure your employees are grateful to have a leader like you.
Oh, that would warm my heart. That would warm my heart.
Yes, I think sometimes we often forget the significance that our managers, our leaders have. I mean, sometimes we don't even realize the things that they do behind the scenes to ensure that everything is moving smoothly. So I'm a big believer in give people their flowers while they're still alive.
Please. So.
Yes. So no, you're doing a good thing. I think your team is, even though maybe they might not show it or they don't say it enough, I think they are really grateful to have you in their corner.
Yeah, I think one of them was quite vocal actually after I started. We were having, so I'm big on one-on-ones with my team members. And giving that regular feedback, but also just regularly finding out, okay, this isn't just a stand-up where we're quickly finding out, how are you? How was your weekend? But it's rather, it's me and you uninterrupted for an hour. Let's talk. So in one of my one-on-ones with a team member, she said to me, Rory, you're probably one of the best bosses I've ever had. Bear in mind that she is about 10 years older than me.
True.
And she was like, I've never had a boss who treats me like a human like you do. And I remember calling my dad that day and I was like, yo, Papa, I'm so touched. Like literally, I was on the verge of tears because I was like, I'm here changing these people's lives, you know, and I don't even feel like I'm doing much. I've been here for 3 months, you know, I don't feel like I'm doing much. And to hear that, within the first quarter of you being there, to hear that, and you're just like, Lord, this can only be you. The wisdom that you've given me to lead these people, it's shining through. I couldn't do this on my own. I couldn't do it in my own human strength. It's purely you, Lord. Yeah.
Oh, goosebumps. You gave me goosebumps. It just goes a long way. Like, it really just goes a long way. And to hear how God is just showing up through you, even through just your existence. Like you said, you don't have to. Well, for you, it doesn't feel like you're doing a lot. You know, you're just treating people like they're human beings. It goes a long way. And to hear that employee also say how grateful she is, it's beautiful. I wanted to circle back to ageism, because we touched on it a little bit. Did you, once they started like realizing how old you were, and I know it's been, you said it happened pretty recently. Did you feel any kind of shift in the way that they treat you, the way that they talk to you? And even before then, like maybe when there were people who were, I don't know if there were people who picked it up, but was there any kind of negative feelings towards having a younger employee be their leader? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
So yes and no. It's a mixed answer, because the people in my direct team, regardless of whether they know how old I am. For example, my boss, he found out how old I was and he didn't treat me any differently. Incredible leader as well. But there are people from other teams that we work with. Obviously, within a bank, you'll find yourself working on cross-functional projects with different teams. There are people from other teams who can be like, Rory's a child, you know, and it does get a bit frustrating where you feel like you have to overcompensate because you're younger. But I definitely am grateful that the team that I'm in, for the most part, do take me seriously regardless of whether they know my age or not. Or rather, let me say, in the work context, they take it seriously. But in our coffee run, they'll say, oh, Rory, you look so tired today. Is everything okay at home? And then they'll come in as that mother or that sister or whatever. But when it comes to work, listen, Rory does what she does well. She speaks well. She knows her things. We're taking her seriously here. So I can deal with that dynamic where when we're on an MS Teams call, you guys will take me seriously. You guys will hear what I have to say. And then when we are making breakfast in the common area, you guys can say, oh, she's so cute. Did you buy them in the kiddie section? You know, I can do that, you know. And I think the one thing that I've seen, because it's such a male-dominated industry, banking is still the old white male type of environment, you know. They are still very difficult to win over, especially those that you find are above like their mid-40s and stuff. They are still a bit difficult to deal with. But one thing I said, and I said it to a colleague during the week as well, to say, do your job and do it well so that they don't have anything to say, you know, regardless of how old you are. And I'm a massive advocate for that, that I'm going to mind my own. I don't care what people are saying about my age. As long as I'm delivering what I need to deliver, then they don't have much to say, or anything that they do say shouldn't affect me, because I'm here to work. I'm not here to create friends, you know. And if I'm working and I'm performing as I should and my boss is happy with me, everybody else really, I'm not saying create enemies, but they really don't matter like that.
Of course. Let's talk about boundaries.
Difficult one. Yikes.
Right. What does boundaries look like for Rory in banking compared to Rory in a consulting environment?
Funny. Rory in consulting did not have boundaries.
Sure.
I'm going to be very open and transparent about that. Rory in consulting jumped whenever I needed to jump, you know. And the one thing that I started doing, especially when I reached like the bottom of the barrel within consulting, was I started with my phone. I put my phone on flight mode at 5:30 every single day. And at 7:30 the next morning, that's the only time my do not disturb switches off. And that's because sometimes your boss would call you at 7 in the evening. You're at gym, you're having dinner, you're out with friends.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So that was the first big boundary that I had to instill.
Yeah.
And when my mental health also started, getting a bit shaky,
Yeah.
I then said I'm adding a boundary when it comes to gym.
Okay.
Gym is a non-negotiable for me.
Okay.
And that's because it's a release for me. I'm a very anxious person and I need some outlet for release, you know? And gym was that perfect thing that I found that is healthy for me to feel like I'm just letting go of all of that. So I could tell the difference between me going through a workday having not had a workout and me going through a workday having had a workout.
Yeah.
And the difference was fast. And being able to say, fine, my phone switches off at 5:30. I go to gym for an hour a day. I'm eating healthy and I don't look at my laptop an hour before I go to sleep. I felt like it literally changed the script for me. Because listen, you would, without a backbone, you're going to find yourself working 7 days a week, 365. And people will take advantage of it. You think you're valuable within a team, but in actual fact, you're the person that they can take the most advantage of. So that's where the problem lies, where you have to distinguish between, am I valuable or am I being taken advantage of?
Yeah.
And that difference between those two analogies would be the boundaries that you set. That even within those boundaries, they are respected and they still trust you to do a hell of a good job, as opposed to, I'm going to call her and she's just going to jump and do everything that I say she's going to do. So those boundaries are extremely important. Also remember that you're spending most of your life with your colleagues. You barely see your family, you barely see your friends. They see you for 10, 12 hours. In consulting, it's about 12 hours for 5 days a week. You don't see your family, you don't see your friends, sometimes you even miss church, you don't have time to read your Bible sometimes. And when you become stricter about the daily non-negotiables, that's when you'll feel some sort of a balance. Yes, it's stressful, yes, it's hectic, but there's some sort of a balance.
Do you mind sharing your non-negotiables?
For me, it's my Bible study in the morning. I cannot leave the house without praying and studying my Bible, even if it's just for 15 minutes. Genuinely, sometimes I do oversleep and that's Life happens. Gym. I cannot function without working out. This is not a daily one, but it's a regular one every 2 weeks. Therapy. I found that I'm able to manage the anxiety a bit better when I speak to my therapist and speak through some of the things that I was struggling with within those last 2 weeks. Another one, speaking to either one of my parents. A day won't go by without me speaking to either my mom or my dad. How are you doing? They're also growing. And in as much as you're growing, they're also growing. They need a daughter. You need a parent. So that is extremely important. But also just speaking to a friend. Speaking to a friend is extremely important because they are able to listen to your problems without a parent who's going to lecture you about, maybe think about it like this. They'll be like, yeah, friend, what you said is right. You know what I mean? And you laugh about it and you move on. Things like that human connection. I'm big on that. And choosing the humans that you connect with on a daily basis can make or break you. Especially when you're an overthinker and a high performer like I am. You need to be able to have someone who's going to say, Rory, calm down. My mom will say that to me, that Rory, you have been at it for the past 4 weeks.
True.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Let's go out for breakfast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But breathe, and you don't realize how much you've been in autopilot until you're able to hold somebody's hand and they're like, we're at a stop sign now. Chill and let's go. So every day, human connection, worship as well. Also spending time in prayer, not just in the morning, but during the day. I get in the car on my way here and I'm like, okay, Lord, I know I have a GPS, but please can I not get lost? In the morning, you're in the shower. Lord, I'm running late. Please help me choose something to wear. And the first outfit you try on, you're good to go. Lord, I'm about to get into a meeting with someone. Please, can you give me the words to say? I was interceding on my way here. Lord, I'm about to come and record this conversation, this podcast. Let it be you that speaks. That continuous intercession throughout the day, beyond just that 15 minutes that you've set in the morning, will help you get through the rest of the day. So for me, I don't carpool with people because it's a boundary for me. I don't carpool unless if it's a dire situation, because for me, a boundary is I intercede on my way to work. I pray, I worship on my way to work. I listen to the Bible sometimes, the audio version, on my way to work, because I need to fuel my spirit so I can pour into the people that I work with as well.
Woo!
That was a mouthful. I'm sorry.
No, it was a mouthful in the best way. Like, I had so many questions, and I'm like, okay, which one am I going to pick? But I think the most important one that I wanted to ask is, what advice do you have for somebody who had a boundary, but then for some reason the boundary didn't happen? Maybe someone overstepped the boundary, or they didn't maintain the boundary, and now are kind of stuck in a situation where they're being taken advantage of, so that they can, like, I don't know if we should say get the boundary back, or like just come up for air, or just so that they can survive. Like, not even survive, but just so that they can get back to themselves. What advice do you have for somebody like that?
Be assertive. And this is coming from someone who, I know people won't believe it, because the person that you guys see on social media is very different to who I am in my real life.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm a very reserved, very quiet person. I'm scared to speak up for the most part.
Okay.
But the one thing that I had to learn in order for me to survive corporate is being assertive. So even when a boundary is overstepped, or today you forgot to switch off your phone on time and they managed to get a hold of you at 8 p.m., you switch it on and you keep it moving. And if they ask about it, you say, you caught me in a very exceptional case. I usually have my phone off from this time to this time. So please, can you respect that going forward? And when they try to overstep that again, you don't entertain it. You respond the next morning and say, but I told you that this is it. When it comes to gym, my boss knows that I can't function without a day of gym, you know? And I'm able to say, okay, boss, I am going to gym. I can't make the 7 o'clock slot that you have put in my diary. Can we push it to 8 o'clock? So you don't just come with a hard no. You come with a, I can't do this. Let's negotiate a way around it. And I'm not big on saying let's negotiate boundaries, because I feel like the boundaries need to be very hard. But life does sometimes happen. Sometimes it's busy season. You would know with an internal audit that, sometimes it's year end and things are crazy. And sometimes you can't stick to those boundaries. But that's an exceptional case. When life returns back to normal, you need to be able to say, yeah, but guys, we were in busy season. You can't expect me to do that 24/7. They also have families. And I think the one thing that we struggle with, especially as young employees within a team, you don't have children, you're not married, all of that. Some people think that you have more time on your hands because you're not doing school runs, you're not cooking for the family, you're not, and being able to say, yeah, but I need to eat. Yeah, but the school run that you go on, I'm at gym. The school run, or you going out for dinner or whatever. I need to go see my mom. So things like that, you need to say, you need to bring it into perspective. And I think a lot of times we're scared to say, in as much as I live alone, I'm single, it doesn't mean I don't have boundaries. It means I'm using my time for things that feed me and for things that serve the people around me. Just as much as you are using your time to serve your children, to serve your husband, to serve your wife, whatever the case is. I have that say, we all have 24 hours in a day, and I'm choosing how to use mine. You choose how to use yours. And if it means 5 hours of that time you cannot touch me,
and that's what it is.
That's what it is. Yes, there are busy seasons, but straight after that, I'm back to factory settings, and you can't do anything about it. And the second you aren't assertive about your boundaries, that's when people will start walking all over them.
Again, 1,000,001 questions. But I think the one thing that I also have in terms of the cell phone thing is, so what worked well for me at the end though, was I started moving my work
onto
stuff onto another phone. So yes, it's extra it's extra admin, because you've got 2 phones now. You have to make sure you're responsible for 2 phones. You know where both phones are. But for me, I think it helped me with my mental health infinitely better. That was infinitely better because I knew my work phone was only on from this time to this time. If I'm getting a message after that, then I know it's work related. And I know I'm not even going to look at it. And then obviously I have my personal phone. That's my line. It's for my personal business. What I do on my phone, it's my business, you know. But like I said, that for me is something that I did towards the end of my time in a consulting firm. I wish it was something I started with, but I mean, it was also my first job. You know, certain things you learn while you are there. You know. And then the other thing that I also wanted to say is, and you mentioned it, not this question, but the previous question that I asked you, where I was thinking that I don't understand people who are struggling. Maybe they are suffering, they're drowning in work or whatever, and their answer to that suffering is, let me do more work. Like for me, I believe in escape. That if I'm drowning in this thing, in this presentation that I need to do, I need to get done. I understand the time dynamic and that I'm under stress. I have to get it done. I have limited amount of time. But you're just stressing yourself out even more by stressing about the fact that you don't have enough time to get the thing done. So even if you take a step away and you take a walk, and that's why I'm like, I'm so big on steps. Like I'm so big on walking 10 minutes even.
It makes a hell of a difference.
It makes a hell of a difference. So even though I feel like I don't even have 10 minutes to spare, I will find 10 minutes to go outside, to put my feet on grass, to take a walk, to drink some water, to text a friend. That also goes a long way. And you refill your cup that way.
Exactly.
Because already you're running on empty.
So there's nothing more to pour.
Exactly. So find moments where you can put just a little drop of water so you can get to an acceptable level.
Agreed.
And then when you're out of busy season or you're out of that hectic deadline, you've submitted, you've done what you need to do, then it's all about refilling the cup. Then now you can go to gym every day again. You can take longer walks. You can spend more time with friends. You can do whatever you need to, go back to church, whatever it is, to just like, now you're filling the cup. That is the main priority. But while you're in it, at least take moments where you're putting droplets into the cup. You know, so I really wanted to say that as well. And I think that would also help people who are in this current situation.
It's very important. Sorry to interject. No stress. When I first started working, I also struggled with, and sometimes I do still struggle with it now. I struggled with taking time off of work because you're scared to drop any ball, right? So even if I was on leave, I would check my Teams or my emails and stuff on my phone. Your brain isn't completely switched off. And now what I do when I'm off, or even if I'm off sick, I switch off my notifications for my work apps so that I know that, listen, Rory, it's you focusing on you. You know, yes, it's something urgent, but the business is not going to burn with you being away for 2 days. It's really not going to burn. And that's the mindset that I had to learn, that the team won't crumble without you. They were fine before you came. Yes, they're thriving while you're here, but they'll be fine for a week while you're away. And when you come back full and full, and you'll be able to then pour back into them as well. So be so intentional about switching off. They pay you a salary and that's it. Listen, I hate to say it, but you really are a number within a firm. You are.
It's true.
Yes, you might have great connections with the people that you work with and whatever, but if you drop dead today, and this is what I had to learn when I was leaving consulting, if you drop dead today, next week, Monday, the post will be open for someone else. And I had to come to that reality. And that's when I was like, Rory, you are fighting for your life. I had COVID a few weeks ago and I was on and off of work for the longest time. And I had to say, listen, Rory, when you are in bed, your notifications are off. And what happened? Absolutely nothing. When I came back, I was able to hit the ground running again. That's the one thing that I think I struggled with, sometimes still do, but some people need to be a bit more intentional about that, especially within the foundation phase of your career. Because if you can build that foundation now, knowing when you need a break, knowing when you're too sick to function, then you're able to say, this is my hard no. And when I come back, I'll be able to deliver bigger and better.
Got two controversial things that I want to say.
I'm listening.
And I'm like, should I say it? Should I not say it? It's not necessarily to you, it's just in general. I think people are going to take it some kind of way. But like, it's just, maybe it's what I've observed, it's what I've learned, and it's what works for me. So I feel like people just need to take it with a grain of salt, but also be open-minded to it. The first thing is, and this is for people who are high functioning.
Okay.
And
Like
people,
me. Like me.
people who are high functioning in a high functioning environment.
Yes.
You're not as special as people make you feel like you are.
Oh, girl, you're not.
You're not.
You're not.
Like, as much as people make you feel like that your absence will make whatever project crumble, life will go on. Hey,
Life
with
will
you
go
there, with you gone, life will go on. Yes, it might be a little bit harder when you're not there, but also, can we please just remember our impact?
Yes.
Please just remember our impact in those kinds of settings. I mean, obviously, your mom raised you to be, oh, my special boy, my special girl. There's no one like you, and that's great.
That's true.
That's
and it's
great.
true at home.
It is.
But not at work.
Yes.
Not
Please,
at work.
if someone makes you feel special to the point where now it feels like the project will crumble without you there, maybe you should question.
Yeah.
You should question your role in that place. Let me just put it like that. You're not as special as people make you out to feel.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. The second thing that I wanted to say is, if you are special to the point where your absence makes the project crumble, I feel like that says a lot about the fragility of the team.
So good.
Like, I really feel like it speaks to that. And that for me is a bigger red flag than you not being there.
You are preaching.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. So, especially as a leader, if you came and you told me, no, I had COVID, I disappeared for 3 weeks, and when I came back, everything was a mess. I'm sorry, that's a red flag. And that's a red flag of you as a leader.
Because I'm not delegating down and empowering the people that are working in the team.
Yes.
That is so good.
Exactly.
That is so good.
So I needed to say that. And I feel like people need to hear it as well. That maybe you should question how you lead and also how your team can function with and without you.
Love that.
Yeah. Yo. I'm gonna take a moment to stop there so we can get into the next phase of the podcast.
Sure.
We're gonna play a game.
Ooh,
Are you ready, my sister?
I will never be ready. Let's go. I'll never be ready.
I think this is going to be a good game. I think you'll like it. So the name of the game is We're Not Really Strangers.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it.
No, I haven't. But the name sounds intriguing. So
I'll explain how it works. Okay. And let's see what happens. I like the box. The box has all these nice cues and stuff. Like inside it says, inside we're all the same. So, and then like on the corner it says, come curious, leave connected. So it has all these nice cute points.
Okay.
All right. Hello, stranger.
Hi.
So We're Not Really Strangers is a purpose-driven card game. There are 3 carefully crafted levels that allow you to deepen your existing relationships and create new ones. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the first level is perception. Do you know how others see you? Level 1 is about gaining perspective on what first impressions we give off and challenging the assumptions we make about others.
Sure. Okay.
And then level 2 is connection. Mm-hmm. Who are you really? This round is about asking the rarely asked questions and connecting on a deeper level. Mm-hmm. Then level 3 is reflection. Time to reflect on your game experience. You can also reflect on things outside because they'll ask questions that aren't necessarily linked to the game. Okay. So feel free to also reflect on things that are outside of just the game. Okay. Then there are 2 sets of cards that are different. There's a dig deeper card. Each player gets a dig deeper card, which can be used once per level. These cards are meant to encourage transparency if you feel your partner is holding back. Okay. And then there's a wild card. If you draw a wild card, your partner must complete the instructions unless otherwise stated.
Hectic.
These cards can appear at any moment during the game.
Is there no get out of jail free card here?
No, girl. How are we going to connect with you trying to get out of jail? Wow. So since you are my guest, you can ask me the first question. Okay. There are numbers there on the side. So you can pick from level 1.
Got you.
Which is perception. Pick anyone. Please don't feel pressure to pick from there. Perception.
Cool.
Okay.
Wow. As a child, what do you think I wanted to be? I'm curious to hear this one.
Well, I'm going to go back to what you said about your family being in commerce. Mm-hmm. So I think whatever you needed to be, whatever you wanted to be, would have been commerce related, only because that's all at the time, that's all you would have ever been exposed to. And maybe in your mind as a child, you think that may be like the extent of what you can do.
Interesting.
Ish, but I just thought now your grandparents were in ministry. So I mean, technically
absolutely not.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for that tip. Commerce, I'm also thinking about maybe, and this is maybe me projecting, so this could be like the wrong way of doing things, but perception. So as a person in commerce, there aren't a lot of roles that you know about as a child.
Yeah.
For the most part, people are pushing the agenda of accountant. Yeah. So I would say accountant, but only because you were a child, maybe you didn't know any better, and maybe that's the direction that people could have been pushing you in.
Okay. That's interesting. Am I supposed to tell you what the real thing is?
Please do.
I actually wanted to go into the sciences.
Oh, stop. Oh, because you're different. You wanted to go against the great. Oh, I forgot about
just,
that.
Guys, the only reason why I had to kind of come back into commerce was because maths and physics showed me flames. But yeah, I wanted to go into an engineering type of, I wanted to become a petroleum engineer. But a part of me also wanted to become a pilot. I would have gone that route, but at the time, it was still a very closed off career to go into, especially with my height and my size, because you have to be a specific, height to be a pilot.
That is so sad.
Back in the day, now it's a bit better, obviously with technological advances, but it was the criteria was quite rife. But even if I did have the height, guys, maths was showing me flames, eh? Like, yes, I got a mid-60 in matric, but like the reason why I fought for that 60-something percent. Yeah, so I wanted sciences. Yeah.
Let's go back to petroleum engineering.
I can't even remember what it used to be. Because everybody is a chemical engineer, a mechanical engineer. So I wanted to do engineering, but not everybody else. So
got you.
Yeah. But it's funny, it was quite, and I think my family expected me to take a gap year after matric because I was I don't want to say confused child, but I was very indecisive. So I applied everywhere for everything. Whether it was maths, whether it was engineering, whether it was health sciences. I think at WITS I had applied, I got in for something health sciences, oral hygiene or something, because I wanted to become a dentist. But I didn't submit at s3e8 in time for dentistry because I had braces at the time. And I was like, okay, I want to go into orthodontics or maxillofacial surgery, right? Because I want to be able to change lives of people who had the same insecurities as me from a dental point of view. So everything that I wanted had some sort of an impact, and commerce just seemed like we were going to sit in front of a laptop, right? And I think that's why I haven't even used my degree. But yeah, I ended up studying what I studied because not that I didn't get into the other things, but I was like, okay, I got into this. It's familiar, but also I think it is a bit more flexible than had I gone into petroleum engineering or dentistry or whatever, because commerce is a very wide field. But like I said, people were shocked when I said I'm going to continue going to school that year. I remember my aunt calling me so concerned. She held my hand throughout my schooling journey, one of the closest aunts I have. And she was like, nobody's going to judge you if you take a gap year, because I didn't know what I wanted to become. But whatever it is, it had to have an impact. And that's what I've tried to do throughout my entire career.
Does it have an impact?
It does. It does. Even now, I'm able to be an intentional leader. I'm able to lead people with grace and with emotion. Within consultancy, I was able to create a very safe friend group. I think I was able to meet so many people within consulting that I have turned into lifelong friends now. And I'm able to pour into them as much as they pour into me, as different as our journeys are. So things like that, you never leave a place the way you found it. You never leave a person the way you found that person. And that's what I do in my everyday career, regardless of what job I'm doing that time. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that opened up so many questions. That was great. That was good.
I'm so nervous.
Hopefully it's a good one.
Oh, dear Lord.
Sure. Finish the sentence. Just by looking at you, I think. So just by looking at me, you'd think.
Just by looking at you, I think you're a powerhouse.
Oh.
Yeah. I think even in your seasons of idleness, if I should say, you've still found so much to do with your hands, so much to do with your mind. And I don't think you realize how inspirational you are. So you really are a powerhouse, I think. Considering that it's the first time that I've met you, yes, we've been chatting for the longest time, but you are a powerhouse.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that. I needed to hear that. I receive it even.
No, listen, take it, it's yours. Take it, it's yours.
Over to you.
What, level 2 now?
Level
Still
2.
level 1?
Level 2 connection.
Oh.
Let me prepare myself.
I need to prepare myself. Okay. Ooh, so many words. This is a wild card. No, never mind. So I need to...
No, read it. Let's see what it says. If it needs us to write something down, then no.
Oh, no, it's fine. Call someone you admire and tell them why you appreciate them. Put on the speakerphone.
I wonder if we should do that one.
It's a bit of a stretch.
It is.
But when we finish recording,
yes,
you better.
Yes, let's do that. So let's bank that one for now.
Let's try another one.
Cool.
Wow. Okay. What are you still trying to prove to yourself?
So many things pop in my mind, but I'm like, okay, actually, what is the one that I think I should? What is the one that I think is the most profound right now? I haven't said this one out loud yet, guys. Okay. What is the? Repeat the question.
What are you still trying to prove to yourself?
So what I'm still trying to prove to myself is whether or not I still have a future in this country.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I didn't expect that one.
Yeah. No. And that's why I'm like, I haven't even said it out loud yet. It's just you start to question a lot when you've been unemployed for as long as I have. And yes, I mean, you are competing against a high unemployment rate. You're competing against all these factors. Yeah. But like when you've tried everything that people have told you to do, the one-page CV, the detailed CV, the CV as a website, the CV with pictures, without pictures, applying through connections, applying through referrals, applying through agencies. Like I've tried it all in South Africa. And then you start to question, maybe your future isn't in South Africa.
That is big.
It is big.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my thought process for the last few weeks, maybe like the start of April, especially because April is such a spiritual month.
Yeah.
I mean, no, let me say from late season. So mid-March to then 20th of April. For those people who are Christians, that's usually the Lent period.
Yes.
Or for those who are not Christians, that's usually the Lent season when you're preparing for
the passing. Well, for the Passover, you're preparing.
Yes, for you're preparing for the Passover. So it's a very spiritual time because some people may choose to fast away from food or from things that basically bring you, take you away from God.
Yeah.
So it's been a very spiritual time for me, and I've been taking it with the energy that it deserves.
Good.
I mean, I think during that time, I've been asking myself, okay, I've tried all these things and maybe it's not working. So,
Lord, what else? Yeah.
Yes.
Where else are you trying to take me?
Yes. So my prayers, I think, have been rooted a lot in that.
Sure.
And then it's like, okay, fine, let's just say I do go international. Like, is it for work? Is it for school? Is it for au pairing? Is it for, like, what is it for?
So good.
I've spoken about this before to say that I'm not sure if internal audit is where I want to be for the rest of my life. And I flip-flop pretty regularly. Not to say that I'm not passionate about it. I do. There are parts of me that love internal audit and will always love internal audit. But the emphasis is parts of me.
You're a multifaceted individual, so you can't just serve one part of yourself.
Exactly.
You need to find something that serves a lot of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at the a lot part now to see what else is out there. And like I said, there's just been a lot of closed doors in South Africa. So now I'm like, okay, now do I pursue outside?
Sure.
And what does that look like? So
trusting His wisdom. He will give you the direction that you need.
Yeah.
I think a reckless part of me would have said, girl, pack a bag and go.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But sometimes we do that based off of our own understanding.
Yeah.
So definitely see God's face. But you're definitely in a position where you can, you know, and I don't see why not. My mom is going to be watching this and she's going to say, girl, pack your bag, pack your bag. So from a mother, you've already got an answer.
Yes.
But definitely seek that direction from God. That, will I still glorify you with this move if I decide to move?
And that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, so direct me in any path that will glorify you as much as it will serve me.
Yeah.
let it glorify you at the end of the day.
That's my priority, because I'm also such an intentional person. I don't want to do something. I can't do something for the sake of. I'm not spontaneous, guys. As much as I feel like I want to be, I'm not spontaneous.
Yeah, no, same. Calculated risks, guys.
Exactly.
Calculated.
Exactly. So a lot of what I do needs to have an element of intentionality, and I would love it to have an element of impact as well. So that's why, like you said, like it has to be to the glory of God. If it's not, and I don't want it to be an escapism. I don't want to say, oh my gosh,
you're running away from your problems.
Yes, I don't want that, because I've worked so hard to heal in the mud. So I don't want to just be like, oh, let me just go for the sake of. But yeah, there's just a lot attached to it as well, you know, financially, mentally, emotionally. I've never lived outside of South Africa, all those kinds of things. Logistically, it's a lot. So yeah, we'll see what happens, man.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear that side of your story.
Right? Yeah. Me too. Okay, time for you. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. That went really deep, by the way.
Yeah,
like
connection does that. It really does that.
Let's have it. Let's have it.
What part of your life works and what part of your life hurts?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Share whatever you're comfortable with sharing, of course.
What part of my life works? My friendships. Listen, whether I am on top of a mountain or I'm at the bottom of a valley, my friends remain consistent. Guys, I can't fault them on anything. They are truly a God sent duo. Okay, the two that are here. My best friend in London as well. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know where I would be without her.
Yeah.
So yeah, my group of friends, that works. What hurts? Healing past traumas, because I'm in the thick of that right now. And hence I'm so intentional about my therapy journey, because I am digging up everything that I thought I was okay with, that I wasn't, or that I kind of just brushed under the rug because there's an assignment due tomorrow, or there's a deadline or whatever. And now I've reached like that level of stability within my adulting journey. And when you're trying to bring new people into your life, when you're trying to let other people go, you realize that the reason why you're struggling to open up or you're struggling to release people is because of some of the things that you went through as a child. Whether it is, being an anxious attachment person. I'm big on, like, I hold my people close because I'm so closed off that if they leave, I won't have anyone, you know? But at the same time, we're forming such a great friendship, for example. And I wouldn't have been able to even open up my heart, open up my mind to you had I not been on this healing journey. So it's definitely an up and a down, slippery slope. But I'm definitely grateful that I'm able to do that now as a single person, no children. I live alone. I can get my hands as dirty trying to let God work as much as he can in my heart and my mind now, so that if I ever want to pursue something romantic or I become a parent one day or whatever, I won't bleed on the people that come into my life.
Yes. Well said.
Thanks.
Very well said. All right, over to
It's
you.
me.
Reflection. Level 3.
Sure. Okay. Let's see. This is cute. It's a wild card again. Clearly, I'm in the business of picking wild cards today. Give each other nicknames.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to use your nickname, Rory. I mean,
to be honest, I don't even think that's a nickname anymore. I feel like that's my name. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've always liked like the one letter thing. So I guess my nickname for you would be like R.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of people wouldn't call you that.
Okay.
So that would be my nickname for you, R.
Mine is a bit different.
Okay.
I'm gonna call you Panda.
Oh.
You know why?
Why?
They're really, really fluffy and soft on the outside.
Yeah.
But they have the most gentlest of souls. And that's what I feel when I interact with you. You're such a gentle human being. So you might be warm and fuzzy on the outside, but even on the inside, you are such a warm person.
Thank you so much. Mine wasn't that deep, but I
listen, I
appreciate
think about everything. I think
that
about
is
everything.
so deep. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
And also, you happen to be wearing white and black today.
Oh yeah,
Black and white,
actually,
so, yeah.
we kind of matched, by the way, guys. I don't know if you noticed, like all black, and then we had like a
And a
proper
pop.
color. It's like great minds think alike.
But I mean, those who are following or watching this from my channel will know. I don't think they've ever seen me in that much color, so I'm always wearing black. But yeah, it's my favorite color. Apparently, it's a shade, not a color.
Oh yes, right.
But it's my favorite color.
It works for you, so
Thank
it's your
you.
favorite color.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my turn.
Whew, okay.
Let's see. Oh, I think this is a great way to end the podcast. In one word, how would you describe our conversation?
God ordained.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't need to explain that.
Yeah,
it was God ordained.
Yeah. Ah, Rorisang, this has been beautiful.
I love this. Thank you so much for having me and for opening up your home and for opening up your podcast and your audience to me as well. I truly appreciate it. And it won't be the last time. I'm inviting myself again for round 2.
Please. You heard it here first. No, thank you so much for agreeing and for coming on and for staying the journey, walking the journey and staying the journey. Like we said earlier, it was a couple of months coming. Yeah. But we really kept the consistency and we kept each other involved. Yeah. And now we're here and we made it happen. And I'm so excited for what's to come. Right. I'm so excited for people to also see this. So I think this was a necessary conversation that we need to have. Guys, it was the first podcast.
Yes,
she killed it.
Podcast debut, guys.
Killed it.
I was so nervous. Still am. I'm sweating.
Thanks. No, but I hope that I made it comfortable.
No, definitely. It was a warm space to open up in. So
thank you so much, Rodi.
And that's a wrap on today's session. Remember, breakthroughs don't happen all at once. They unfold in the moments we choose to keep going, to start again, to believe that more is possible. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that their story isn't over. And as you go, keep rising, keep pushing, and most of all, keep believing. This is the Breakthrough Sessions podcast, where every ending is just a new beginning. Until next time.